Hey everybody, and welcome to Geeksvana Live. You go a couple of weeks without a live stream, then you get two on consecutive nights. Lucky you. Tonight we're going to be talking about a topic which has really it's got me a little bit annoyed. It's got everybody at Geeksvana annoyed as well. Graham will be joining me after I've explained the situation and ran through the highlights with you. We're also going to be coming across to you guys in the chat as well. Thank you very much, everybody that's joined us again this evening, especially as we've just been online last night. But this is a slightly strange video to have to be making today. In any video that I put out regarding the drone rules, be they here in the UK or in the US or really wherever, I always try to emphasize that you need to know the rules yourself and not take the word of others. However, I didn't expect that to include the airspace regulator here in the UK, the Civil Aviation Authority. I felt that advice coming from them directly via their email would hopefully match the legislation and their own guidelines. So I was extremely surprised, to say the least, when Graham spotted a post on social media by somebody who had asked the CAA for advice regarding flying their drone close to a bridge that has people on it. In fact, we had a similar question come up in our Q&A. The main crux of the inquiry was centered around how close the person could get to uninvolved people with their sub 250 gram drone. This seems like a simple one, doesn't it? I think most people would probably be able to answer this question. People who know the rules well or who've watched my videos will know that there actually isn't any restriction in terms of distance you have to be from uninvolved people in the UK at the moment when you're flying a sub 250 gram drone. In fact, you can even fly over them as long as you're not flying over a crowd of people. You can get the full details in our sub 250 gram drone rules video if you do need a refresher, which is linked in the description, as is Graham's original post on this as well. Also, just to do the YouTube a bit very quickly, if you want to see more videos focused on drone news, regulations, opinion and more, then please do hit that subscribe button. And could my awesome regulars, especially those watching right now in the live chat, please hit the like button nice and early. It does make me smile. So I suppose it depends if you want to make me smile, doesn't it? So here we have a screenshot of the response the person got, and they posted it online to show people the advice given by the CAA. So you can see here, first of all, it appears to be a screenshot of an email from the General Inquiries Team, External Information Services at the CAA. The response reads as follows: a drone weighing less than 250 grams can fly closer than 50 meters, but only if everyone involved in the activity are aware. Therefore, if there are people on the bridge who are not aware of the drone, then it cannot fly within 50 meters. Strange one, isn't it? So that's the advice from the CAA. Here on Geeksvana, we have always strived to put forward the UK CAA in the best possible light, as we generally support what is their mission to create a safe environment for aviation, including, of course, flying our drones. However, to read such an incorrect response sent to somebody who is doing the right thing and seeking to clarify how to fly their drones safely, to me, it just isn't really acceptable on any level whatsoever. Even a simple document search of the latest CAP documents or the CAA's own AMC would give you the correct information. I find it hard to really see how someone could, even somebody who doesn't know the rules, looking something up within the CAA, the information is there and it's so simple. It feels like this email was answered pre-2020 and somehow took 4 years to reach the recipient. Now, we have taken steps to confirm that this is a real email, so that has happened. And in addition to that, we have reached out to the CAA for comments, but as of yet, they have not responded. We followed up with a more urgent press inquiry on this issue just yesterday. And again, to date, we have had no response from them whatsoever. So I suppose really that gives me my channel, as the platform for me to issue my thoughts to the CAA in terms of the situation and give some feedback really regarding the harm that errors like this can actually make. It's hard enough to provide the correct information to drone flyers across the UK with the number of legislation changes and constant policy changes, advice changes, everything else like that happening. But for the advice that's actually coming from the CAA to be wholly incorrect, and keep in mind here, this is not as if there's a spelling error or some kind of grammatical error, as there are in many of the CAP documents, giving this a slightly different meaning. The advice provided in this email is completely incorrect. Not one part of it is correct under current UK legislation or even CAA guidance. We already have many comments on this channel from people who are highly frustrated and annoyed by the number of changes and the confusing nature of drone regulations in the UK. The one place we would expect to see actually change that, it's really the one place we demand the information is correct, would be from the UK airspace regulator. I cannot understand how the process in terms of answering an email from a member of the public could end up with providing advice this far off the current facts. As far as I'm aware, all email inquiries to the various CAA email addresses are dealt with by employees rather than this being farmed out to an outside company. So we can't even really blame a faceless call center somewhere. So I suppose my overall my advice and the message I want to leave you all with in terms of the UK drone rules is to ensure that as many videos as you watch, as many emails as you send to even the airspace regulator, please make sure that you check the facts for yourself before you're actually out flying, because it will be you and only you explaining to a police officer or in a court of law what happened. The good news there is you only need to get confident on the rules for the drone that you are actually flying, rather than needing to know every single aspect of the drone regulations and the legislation for the UK, like someone like me or Graham would do. This is a message that I've always been quite keen on putting across in my videos, that you don't necessarily need to know everything. You just need to know the rules surrounding the use of your type of drone. So if you are flying lightweight drones, then our sub 250 gram video, as I said, it's in the description, is ideal for you. But still, there's a link in the description of that video to the legislation. Go and read the legislation for yourself and make sure that you agree with the interpretation that I've taken over the rules, or any other video or advice or text that you read. This topic is something that we won't be dropping, and I promise that we will be following up with the CAA wherever possible. And I will, of course, keep you all informed should we ever get any kind of response. To me, if we as a drone flying community are expected to follow the rules precisely or face prosecution, which is very serious, then I don't think it is too much to ask that the airspace regulator have the processes and protections in place to make sure that the advice that they are giving is 100% correct 100% of the time. That's exactly how we have to do it, frankly. Now, so let's head over to the chat and also bring Graham in to see what people are saying on this. Graham, how are you?
Hello. Have I stirred up a bit of a hornet's nest here?
Well, it's something that I think that is...
It's so important, Sean. This is the base level knowledge within the CAA, within the regulator for drones.
Yeah.
There will be more sub 250 gram drones in the country being flown every day than any other weight of drone put together. If they don't know the rules on this, or if there are individuals giving advice who don't know the rules on this, they need to essentially butt out and let the people who do know,
that's it,
give the information.
That's it. And that to me is why I'm annoyed. I'm not annoyed that there was a mistake. People make mistakes. People are human. Things happen. But I expect that on a general inquiries email, on an email where you are getting lots of inquiries of this type, no doubt, that there to be processes in place to stop. Absolutely, it cannot happen. The absolutely wrong advice. I mean, has someone just opened the email and taken a stab at it, just guessed? That's the only thing I can imagine that's happened here. And as Akurasho says here, hi, it's good to see you, by the way, one of our regular viewers. Pity drone pilot if he goes into court and the court has the same person to provide the information. Now, I realise he's making a point by overstating a position, but myself and Graham were talking just before the show about the unintended consequences that this kind of thing can have. Bear in mind, there is this email floating around now on social media with completely the wrong advice, signed off by the CAA. This posted in the wrong context could look like the essentially the right information, which is crazy.
A stick to hit somebody with. Also, I think it's important that we know that sub 250 gram flyers don't need to take the flyer ID, and therefore it's reasonable, and no offense to anybody watching tonight, because I know you all have a decent level of knowledge, but you can expect the largest number of people to have the least amount of knowledge about the rules and regulations. When they are asking the CAA, when they've made that effort to ask the CAA, they damn well ought to get it right.
We spend how many hours on this channel talking to people and saying, look, try and fly safe, because not necessarily because there's any kind of, we don't think there's any kind of danger from drones, but flying safely, flying within the rules, stops giving them the excuse to put any more tighter rules on us and increase legislation, and which is going to be better for all of us, frankly. But it's something that it frustrates me so much, because yes, we get incorrect cap documents, and yes, we get, and even that is the deeper dive. Somebody should be able to fly their mini sub 250 gram drone and never read a cap document. If they read the drone code, they do the flyer ID test if they want to do that, but their operator ID, they should be able to. You should be able to operate a drone in this country, in my opinion, a sub 250 gram drone in the open category, and never read a cap document. So there is an argument that is the detailed stuff, that is the more geeky side of hence the name Geeksvana, of drone regulation. However, somebody taking the time and doing the responsible thing to email the airspace regulator and getting that response, to me, is absolutely crazy. One comment I just want to point out here, Dan, who is quite correct. This is coming up quite a lot at the moment. And he's saying, can I just say, there seems to be this mad influx of queries, because we even had the bridge question come up from the live chat in our Q&A last night, in both the hobby and commercial groups. That's right.
The commercial groups,
regarding flying near bridges due to some of the landowners thinking they own the air, and that is an ongoing issue. Go on. Sorry.
So one of my thoughts is, I don't know if the one in the commercial group was for a commercial job. I don't know if that was for the same job as the one in the email, and that the person in the email steered clear of it because the official advice was essentially you can't do what you want to do. In which case they've lost and walked away from some business. So
no, exactly.
If you're watching, go and knock on the door. It also struck me that we are now auditors. We're doing the same thing as auditors.
Well, we're not doing the same thing as auditors, because we're actually auditing something. Yeah. So we're not turning up at the CAA offices and sticking cameras in their faces. Although if they don't respond to us, who knows? Heath, you're asking about a site that would allow you to put your drone type in and where you want to fly and tell you if you can or not. There are a couple of them. One of those is Drone Scene. Drone Scene, it is Drone Scene that has that, isn't it? That has the part of their little thing. I believe it's them, which is the grey arrows. Can somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong? But I think they have the "Can I fly here" part of their website. Let me have a look. Good to go. Yes. If you go onto their website, at the top of the page, there is, so if you go to dronescene.co.uk, there is a good to go link at the top. And then that then basically talks you through where you're flying, what kind of drone you have, and it will tell you what competency level and that type of thing that you need. So it is out there, and I think it's a really good tool that the guys over at Greyos have worked very hard to get right. And I've tested it several times a long time ago when all the rules changed, etc., and it's been 100% correct 100% of the time. Yeah. So yes, excellent. He's saying, cool, I know grey area is perfect, thanks. No problem, sir. And yes, as John Burns is saying, they also have council area lookups which help you guide you to local bylaws. In fact, they've just gone through and refreshed all of the information. Could you imagine that job? Sending an email and getting the information back on bylaws from every local authority, which is really, above and beyond. So you can also do that within the Drone Scene, I was going to say software, a website as well, which is excellent. SJM Drones and Media, this is an interesting one. And this is a conversation that I've had recently. And he says, for a fun hobby, it's seriously overregulated. If the CAA can't get it right, just what is expected from us. Yes, mistakes happen, but not on this scale. And I agree with every single part of that, actually, he says as he hits his overhead light. And I was having this conversation with you, Graham, a few days ago, because I'd had it in another drone regulation type meeting where there was actually people calling for model aircraft and RC aircraft, etc., and the smaller drones to be almost isolated out of this main regulation and almost treated completely separately. And I do think that there's room for that, isn't there? There is room to have RC aircraft and, let's say, sub 500 grams, so C1 and below drones, I would say, actually be treated completely separately because of the absolute low level of risk that they have.
And that low level of risk is clearly being recognised by the legislation. Certainly, sub 250 gram is seen as well, if you don't even need to know the law in order to fly them,
Yes.
then that tells me that they are considered low risk by those who write the law.
Yes, exactly. I mean, Mudball Don is correct here as well, actually. Hi, Don. Good to see you. Yeah, if they're going to make a mistake, at least they made it on the safe side. Absolutely.
Absolutely. They made it on the safe side, but they also restricted somebody's freedom to do what they can legally do.
And of course, here in the UK, Don is a flyer in the States. And here in the UK, Don, we don't have the Part 107 restrictions from the point of view that you can be flying commercially and you don't have to have a specific license or specific certificate for that. So this person could actually have lost a job that they've been asked to do, or have lost income from it, etc. as well. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's just the frustration of doing something and bearing in mind that if this was the other way round, so if I went down there with a Mavic 3 with no certification whatsoever
50 meters
and buzzed people's heads and things, then we would quite rightly be expecting police and the CAA to want to feel my collar, as we say here in the UK.
And yet it could be the same level of misunderstanding of the regulations.
Yeah. No, indeed. Yes, John Burns is saying, not sure about RC aircraft, Sean. Some can weigh quite a lot and are capable of 100 mile per hour speeds. Indeed. I mean, there has to be, and that's the problem, is separating out what is a danger and what isn't. But I think it can be done by weight. Personally, I think weight is a good measure. And I mean, to be fair, I'm saying that to be separated out, sub 250 already is, really, isn't it? Because it isn't exactly difficult. And as you said, the airspace regulator themselves recognise that there is such low risk there. Because if you ask anybody in this specific category who's trying to get an operational authorization, then flying over people is a very hot topic. And you go back 12, 18 months ago, it was a very, very sensitive topic indeed, where we were wondering if we would all have to go to horizontal in the specific category. So the fact that they just allow people to fly over people with them, and even the sub 500 grams with this A2CFC, no intentional flights over people, I think shows that they do recognise the level of risk. And it's good. So we have in the UK at the moment, we have especially for sub 250, we have the most lenient drone rules that we've had in many, many years. So at the moment, hopefully they stick past this next change of regulation that's due. But that's a good thing. But if they're then putting out advice that takes that away again, and
it becomes pointless bit.
It's so frustrating. And that's really the part that I want to ensure that we follow up on, to ensure that we get feedback as to how the process has changed, so that can't happen again. That's really the bit that's important to me. Yes, the error is made, people make mistakes, it's not a problem. It's, that happens, of course. And yes, as John Burns is saying, I agree, sub 250 grams drones should be left out of the regs, apart from the rules re airports, which you can almost say it is at the moment, because you can pretty much fly a sub 250 gram drone anywhere as long as it's not within restricted airspace.
There isn't even a requirement to look around and check for uninvolved people, because it doesn't matter how close you fly to them. I mean, obviously don't hit them, but because there's no requirement to have a clearance, you don't even have to look to see if they're there, which to me is a little bit crazy, because people can approach at speed.
Indeed, and the sub 250 leniency in terms of the drone regs is something that I think is worth protecting, because it really would change if that was to go. It really would change things. Imagine if A2CFC 50 meter horizontal, even with a sub 250, that would just be crazy. Fortunately, we seem to be going more the other direction in the open category, because although we've got the horrible shadow of remote ID hanging over us in the UK, they are talking about allowing the C1 label to be used in the UK to the full advantage, which means we're going to be able to fly drones like the Air 3 very close to people.
Even fuller advantage, because they're talking about giving it essentially the same rights as a sub 250, so a deliberate overflight as well.
Do you think that would actually happen? Do you think that they would give overflights in the open country to C1?
It's the proposal, isn't it?
I'd be interested to see how the wording ends up in the recommendation to government on that one, because I think it's interesting.
To be fair, I mean, I don't know. I haven't got all the incident and accident stats of these things coming down. I'm not aware of anybody having been hit by one. Are you? Because we're fairly well up on this sort of thing.
Hit by a C1 drone, or just hit by a drone generally?
Hit by sub 900 C1 drones.
I mean, it does happen. It does happen. But the thing is, it does happen, and you know, if you talk to the insurance companies, etc., there is an increase in claims, but that's of course because there's a massive increase in drone usage, especially sub 250. But the reason you don't hear much about it is because when it does happen, there isn't really much problem. It would be really unfortunate for something to actually hit a person, because that you know, the odds of that happening. But even when they have struck cars or buildings or whatever, that type of thing, there's minimal, if any, damage whatsoever. So although yes, I have heard of it happening, but perhaps because obviously I get to hear things from all sorts of sides of the industry and the hobby, but I never hear of it as a problem, as a headline or anything, if that makes sense. Nothing that would make me want to make a video on it or anything else like that. So yes, someone's brought up the Bagzilla, assuming you guys brought up Rotor Riot and making the FPV drones a war machine. I don't actually necessarily see that issue as something which is as big an issue as others have made it. I think the fact that the company is making the drones for allies it's still unfortunate. We don't really cover that side of things on this channel, mainly because I don't want to see it in the mainstream. I want to see it mentioned in the mainstream as little as possible, and it's one of the topics I don't like talking about, because obviously people are dying all the time, and whatever side of a war someone's on, I don't want to see anybody getting hurt, etc., especially with our wonderful hobby caught up in the middle of it. But the short answer from me is I do not see it as the large issue that others have put it forward as, basically. And even though other companies actively DJI state, we don't want our drones used for war, if you think they don't know they're being, and they don't allow that to happen, then that's naive as well, basically. And there are plenty of companies. I mean, if we you know, block Rotor Riot because they're associated with a company making drones that will go to war, then you could argue you shouldn't fly on a Boeing next time you go on holiday, because Boeing do plenty for the war, for the industry, for the war side of things.
Don't buy a Toyota because Land Cruisers can have machine guns stuck on the back.
That's it.
You know,
that's it.
It is a tool, as we always say.
The Jaguar Land Rover Group have got military contracts, etc. You know, where would it stop? I think is the thing, and I think it's something that I've thought about a lot in the last 36 hours since it came up on other channels. And yeah, honestly, I think that there's so much going on out there, that there are many more shocking things, as it were. The only thing I would say is at least they're being upfront about it as well, frankly. I do, however, the only thing that I do think is poor optics on their side is the same people. So when you have Drew Camden as the main guy at Rotor Riot and the main guy at the secondary drone company, that to me, optics wise, I can see why people are upset from that point of view. So PD Tech, hi, good to see one of our regulars. Imagine if the over restrictive regs applied when the Wright brothers were playing with the model helicopter their father gave them. Not sure they would have gone on to develop controlled flight. Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that, actually, because the AAM industry, the advanced air mobility side of things, so the air taxis, the drone delivery side of things, all those kinds of people, I've actually seen a few articles recently from those people who are basically saying we don't have enough freedom. If an air taxi crashes on a trial, it's headline news. If somebody trying to do BV lost drone delivery crashes, it's headline news. There's an investigation. It's a big problem. Basically what they're saying is, in testing, in trials, we need to be allowed to get out there and make mistakes, to innovate and to learn from those mistakes and develop our products. So yeah, I agree with you, and I actually think there are modern day examples of it. Not necessarily ones that not everybody in drones would support, because obviously AAM is seen as part of the thing that's actually trying to take our airspace from us, etc. But yeah, I 100% see it from that point of view. Yeah, John Benz, next time I fly, I'll avoid the Boeing Starliner, indeed. It's such a difficult topic on the the military side of things. And obviously, when you have situations like the company in Norway that had to put out a letter via their solicitor to say they're no longer trading because of the Ukraine conflict, then we are in such unusual times, such dramatic times that it's very, very difficult to really see how companies who are looking to make money in this industry can really stay away from that side of things. But as I say, the one optic that I don't personally like too much is the fact that it's the same person on both sides. But sorry to digress everybody on that one. So,
and let's face it, Sean, we've got an awful lot to talk about without bringing that.
Yes,
topic.
well, this show this evening with this particular focus on the CAA and this era is actually going to be starting a little bit of a season of a series, I should say, rather than season of shows coming, where we are looking at what's happening in the airspace regulation side of things here in the UK. And we've been working very hard for several months now on researching and looking into a few issues that we are, to say we're concerned is an understatement, and we will be bringing those to light over the coming weeks. This is I suppose I described it to Graham earlier as we're peeling back the corner of the sticker with this particular story, but coming up we're going to be ripping that plaster off and really trying to shed some light on what's happening in terms of the regulation side of things, and where I think that there is genuine issues, genuine troubles ahead for the industry,
causes for concern,
and the hobby, and they're possibly not even where we think they're actually going to be coming from, frankly. So yes. Smetcalf76, was it your email? I didn't think my emails would cause this. Well, if it was you that sent the original email, well done for reaching out to what should have been the most reliable source, and also, frankly, well done for having enough knowledge to spot actually this isn't right. So it's obviously sense tested it beyond that and saying actually that's not it there. So Bagzilla is saying what the others are saying is our hobby is small, that we can choose to purchase from and maybe make a difference. Yeah, I think if there was a total Rotor Riot ban from people wanting to purchase their products, then yes, it would. Of course, that would make a quite a substantial difference. Of course, it would. And that again is down to an individual's political or personal preference. I just don't think it needs to necessarily be a campaign. And I think if you look at other things like iFlight, DJI, others, yes, these companies aren't actively saying please use our products in the military in conflicts, but they are being used. And I think it's naive to think that just because they put a press release out saying we don't want that, that it's anything else. I think
we've proven many times that that the flock of drone flyers is particularly difficult to herd. To mix a few metaphors.
Yes.
Yes. It's like a flock of cats.
Indeed. Yes. Herding cats. I think it's what some people say, isn't it? But it is I think the crux of this story that we focused on this evening with the CAA, really to wrap things up for this evening, is that it's frustrating because we are given zero allowance. And I feel quite rightly, if I were to breach regulations in a way that enforcement were bothered, then quite rightly I would expect a ton of bricks to come down on me. That doesn't seem to happen the other way around. We just seem to get silence. We seem to get not much said about something, which is, as Don quite rightly said, fortunately this time it was advice in the even safer direction.
Safe direction.
But that's something that, having an incorrect email out there from the airspace regulator, if that wasn't presented in the way that Metcalf did, and actually presented in, hey everyone, look, the rules have changed, then actually there are lots of people that would have okay, that says email from the CAA. I'm now gonna fly to that, and that's a shame because the one place we should be demanding 100% correct information. And this isn't someone getting something wrong in the heat of the moment on a phone call. This is a response to an email. You've got time to get it right. You've got time
to think about it. Yeah.
It should be run through a process. Do I know the answer? Do I know the answer to this? Have I got something I can call upon and give them the reference and say, okay, the drone code says this, or CAP X says this. AMC says this, even if we want to go to that horrible side of things. And it is actually also, I had a comment earlier that I answered in quite some detail, and I did apologize to him for disappearing down a regulatory rabbit hole. But it is important as well on the enforcement side of things, because we do go down we do absolutely go down the rabbit hole very deeply. We did in the Q&A last night, etc. as well. But do still remember that there aren't police officers hiding in the bushes ready to jump out and nab you for every little thing. I had someone comment earlier that he went he went under a bridge on a video, posted it on social media, and got lots of comments from people saying when you're under the bridge for 2 or 3 seconds, you didn't have visual line of sight of the drone, and everybody was sort of pulling that up. In my opinion, that's probably not going to be the priority of the British police. In terms of wanting to track that person down, or even, I did say, I don't know how that would change in terms of if an officer saw you do that when we have fixed penalties, that might be different.
Yeah,
because it's a much more simple process. Yeah. But yeah, so we should remember that, and I want to mention that every time we talk about enforcement at the moment. So. And S. Metcalf is saying, I asked them to clarify it a few times and they still kept giving me the wrong information. It's just absolutely crazy.
Staggering.
It is. It's absolutely crazy.
Have you got those questions and answers in writing?
Yes, if you've got that, S. Metcalf, do forward it to me, Sean at Geeksvana.com, which is down here, as you can see here, Sean at Geeksvana.com. And I didn't actually put my lovely title up. Look at that. I spent all that time, Graham, putting a lovely title together, and I didn't even use it on the screen. I don't know. Hey, these YouTubers, yes, and you'll actually also notice that Graham doesn't have a particularly funky shirt on this evening because it's too serious.
Yeah, too serious. So
it is a lovely sponsored one, though.
We're in mourning for the regulations.
Uncrewed Aerial Solutions, link in the description if you want any advice, guidance. He has a particularly wonderful operation manual service as well. So if you're being audited, he can help you with that as well. And if you're devising your ops manual for the specific category, he can help you with that. And the list is endless. You go to his LinkedIn profile, you go to Facebook, etc. You'll see all the people recommending Graham. Me recommending him is like, recommending, I was going to say something, I don't know that many reliable products. Recommending OBS for live streaming because it's never let me down. There you go. He says, knowing he's currently live streaming on OBS.
Although you may find me getting a little bit testy on Facebook from time to time. So my apologies if I ever upset anybody.
Yeah, indeed.
I sometimes have a hard day and react.
Phil Cahill, new drone pilot, learns a lot from your videos. Appreciate the work. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate it. And that is exactly why we do it. This channel was started because despite the fact that my BMFA club that I was a member of taught me so much in terms of safety and gaining my confidence flying and that type of thing, even they were unsure in terms of the drone rules. And that was one of the reasons behind this channel and why we focus on the drone reg side of things, because we like to be able to get the right information. And Graham joins because he's very good at holding the CAA to account. Especially on the specific side of things. So yes, a good team. We're actually one announcement actually is that we are returning this year to DroneX in September. So if anybody wants to come and see us in person and have a chat, you can come along to London XL on the 26th, 27th, around those sort of dates.
I haven't booked it off yet. I need to book it off.
Yes, you do. But we'll be there on the Geeksvana stroke IUP Aerials stand booth to come along and have a chat with us. It's always a good opportunity to be able to be there. Yeah, being a model aircraft flyer has really helped my drone flying, says Vince. Yeah, and I completely agree with that. Being around that world and being in that world really helped me in terms of safety. It really helps me in terms of really building my confidence and knowing what I'm actually doing. So yes, there is something about, okay, flying even a camera drone around the same field regularly. There is something that actually gets the muscle memory going, that gets the, if I haven't done a particular shot before and it's a particular, I want to do that shot freehand so that it looks better than an auto shot, I will go down the field and I'll practice it there, practice and practice and practice. It's a good thing to have.
And when I retire, I might have time to go down and actually take up flying as a hobby rather than as a way of generating invoices.
Exactly. Excellent. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. And we'll be back again very, very soon. So I've got a lot of stories to get out. We've got one on the FAA coming up regarding remote ID and letters that they're sending out to people. We've got all sorts of other recorded stuff coming up and interviews and different bits and pieces. A huge backlog that we're trying to clear at the moment. So you'll probably hear again from us tomorrow in some form or other. Just a very quick note to thank all of the members, River Mersey, and the other channel members that I've seen in the chat this evening, Simon, Tazzy, who else is up here? On Track Images, thank you. Thank you, El Smeghead, who's also our chief moderator, John Doe, Trevor Fuss, so many members, thank you. John Denholm, really do appreciate it. Dynadrone, I don't want to miss anybody now. No, I've started saying people's names.
You've done it now.
Yeah, exactly. But I really do appreciate you all coming along. Elsmeg had actually put his member notification through. Member for 47 months of the Raw Plus. And he's saying happy 4th of July and a vote for Geeksvana in the election. Yeah, fortunately, I'm not a politician. I'm very, very happy to say. But yes, on that note, I do want to wish everybody at the other side of the pond no hard feelings and happy 4th of July. You dirty rebels.
What is it? One of the guards at the Tower of London says to people, if you'd pay your taxes, this could have been your history.
Excellent. On that note, we'll see you guys later. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.